si ano, ma'am. Si Minta.
Stop.
Oh. Yes, ma'am.
Wag muna.
Mm. Ma'am, maraming estudyante pa daw nun. Hindi, joke.
Si Vidal.
Ma'am, ang haba, wag na. I-distribute nyo na lang po.
Hindi, ito Gusto nyo ako i-guess? Pagtsagaan nyo. Nandito since 98, wala. Just my,
Oh, start na tayo, ma'am.
we can
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Kapihan sa Senado, and we're glad that finally you are able to invite her before she leaves Senate. Dahil isa po siya sa mga graduating senator. She is the outgoing chairman of Committee on Finance, Committee on Foreign Relations and Climate Change, at siya rin po yung muse ng Macho Black. Let us all welcome Senator Loren Legarda. Hi, ma'am. Good morning.
Well, it's been so long since I sat here in front of all of you, but despite the infrequency of my guesting here, every day we issue press statements. You see me working every day, so that's my report to the nation. But I, first of all, would like to thank all the members of media who have covered me since 1998. But I don't think there's any one of you here who can say that we were together from my first working day in 1998, because the ladies smiling here were still in grade school when I became the youngest senator at 38 years old. But you've seen us grow, you've seen us enact legislation, you've seen us in our rise and fall in our political careers, but in everything we do, we've attempted to serve our country. I'm ending my third and last term in the Senate, my second consecutive term by June 30 of 2019. I feel inspired to still work in the legislature in the bigger house come July, and I hope that you will not tire of covering, reporting, writing, and inviting me on our shared advocacies, which cover many concerns that you cover as well. And so I'm ready for any and all questions.
So, after serving Senate for 3 terms, can you say mission accomplished? Na-fulfill niyo po ba lahat ng gusto niyo ma-accomplish, or bitin pa kayo?
The journey has just begun. Well, as you know, I'm a perennial learner, and I'm always inspired to do more and to do better. While I was the youngest senator in 1998, and I leave the Senate now after 3 consecutive terms, after serving for 18 years, I can even read legislation which we principally authored and sponsored, which I hope we're able to help our country. But there's still so much to do. First, the implementation of all laws we have authored, the enactment of more legislation to improve the state of affairs of our country, and the oversight of laws we have authored and the funding of laws. It is not enough to debate, to write, to have great prose or great letters written or ink on paper, or even soft copies of bill. That is not enough, no matter how many years you debate. It is not enough that a law is signed by the president. It is not enough that a law is funded and implemented. We must ensure that the laws are funded, effectively implemented, efficiently implemented, that touches the lives of people, and there should be marked change, positive change and impact in the lives of our constituents, in our people. Otherwise, we cannot say that these laws have actually been effective. May I just state, for example, some of the laws in the 17th Congress, the bills I principally authored that have been signed into law. The Expanded National Integrated Protected Areas System, or NEPAS Act, the Magna Carta of the Poor, the mandatory PhilHealth coverage for persons with disability, the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. These are just some of those which I have principally authored. There are many other co-authors, and of course the sponsor, the chair of the committee, was the one who sponsored it. Also, as chair of your Committee on Finance for the past 4 years, since 2016, 17, 18, and 19 budget, or what we know as a GAA, the General Appropriations Act. If you will allow me, please, to read. For the first time in the 2016 GAA, we funded capacity building programs for the implementation of the Ecological Solid Waste Management Law, which previously, for 20 years at least, was never funded. For the first time again, we funded the payment of the Total Administrative Disability TAD pension for the surviving spouses of deceased World War II veterans. And we also had a strong support for quality education with the increased allocation for the DepEd to support the implementation of the K-12 program. We also had all SUCs receive additional funding for their tulong dunong or scholarship programs. We also had funding for environment, the coral restoration program, which was never funded before. We had general and special provisions that would ensure the integration of disaster and climate resilience, environmental and heritage conservation, sustainability in the programs of government agencies. That's 2016. In 2017, we had an additional 8 billion for CHED, for free tuition in SUCs. We had increase in the allowance of teachers from 1,500 to 2,500 pesos per teacher, with a 3 billion budget increase for PhilHealth. This is so important, so that all Filipinos are covered by the Universal Healthcare Program, while indigent patients will not have to pay for anything in government hospitals under the no balance billing or NBB policy. You will recall that there was a 10% of our population, the poorest of the poor, who were not covered by PhilHealth. This 3 billion amendment in the 2017 budget covered all Filipinos at point of care long before the law was enacted, because the GAA is a funding law. We had additional 96 billion for DOH for the construction of additional health facilities and drug rehabilitation centers in 2017, and we funded the long-standing program Doctors to the Barrio program under Senator Flavier Yep. Under DSWD, we had 100 million funding for a then unfunded law, which was the Centenarians Act. We also had free irrigation facilities under the NIA, because you will recall that farmers, rice farmers, would even pay for their irrigation facilities. So under this, we funded, even before it became a law, the Free Irrigation Act for farmers. We also put 1 billion for the Small Business Corporation to provide loans at almost no interest to micro enterprises in support of a unfunded law, the amended MSME law. We also increased the combat and incentive pay for the military and police. And we had additional funds for the ILG training for firefighters, our support for the PNP's fight against illegal drugs, and we increased the subsistence allowance of prisoners and the rehabilitation of the jail facilities. This you all, I'm sure, witnessed and listened to during the plenary debates, which we incorporated in the 2017 GAA. Let me proceed with the 2018 General Appropriations Act. We increased based on the pronouncement of the President, but this pronouncement was of course supported by the Senate Committee on Finance. 62.8 billion for the increase of the base pay of military and uniformed personnel. You will recall that was after the Marawi siege, and when the President commended the police and the military. It was middle of the year, meaning the president's budget had already been submitted. And so it was really the responsibility of Congress, the Senate in that instance, to look for the funds to double the pay of the military and the police. We also added 10 million for capital outlay for each SUC for the purchase of equipment and improvement of their campus facilities. We also, at the time, included a provision in the ICT, which is still not fully implemented, with Senator Onasan promised will use the 327 million for free Wi-Fi in all state universities and colleges. It's not yet being used. That's 2018 funds yet. The 250 million under CHED for free tuition for medical students, because we need more doctors and we support doctors to the barrios. We also again increased the allowance of teachers, 1.5 to 2.5, now 2.5 to 3.5 per teacher. Additional 3.5 billion again for Field Health Plus to provide for the health insurance of government employees under the executive department. Only perhaps the Senate and the congressional employees in the legislature enjoy a good PhilHealth program and have a private HMO. But those in the executive do not have the kind of facilities or the kind of health insurance that those in the legislature. So that there is parity, we provided that for the executive, and I will find out how they've utilized these funds. The DOH budget was also increased to provide additional funding for HFEP, you know that, the health facilities enhancement. Another 2 billion was added for the Pag-asa juvenile detention centers. 800 million to complete a 1 billion for the DTI's shared services facilities, which are equipment and tools for micro enterprises nationwide, in support of the MSME law to create rural livelihoods and sustainable employment for people. And aside from the irrigation fee subsidy, additional funding of 2.669 billion for the construction, restoration of small-scale irrigation projects, and 4.2 billion for the construction of facilities of agricultural machineries and equipment. We added 10 billion under the NDREAM Fund for the quick recovery and reconstruction of Marawi after the siege. We also again provided a 1.6 billion for the total administrative disability payment for the surviving spouses of World War II veterans. We added 738 billion for DFA, for new offices, consular offices, and opening embassies which were previously closed, so that we show the world that the Philippines is open to do greater diplomacy and business for the world. The QRF of agencies originally lodged under the NDREAM Fund was transferred to the implementing agencies for more efficiency and quick access. Now we proceed to this year's General Appropriations Act, or the GAA. 800 million for the special allowance of teachers for the first time during World Teachers' Day this October. The restoration of the 15 billion health facilities enhancement program, which was actually an initiative of several senators on the floor, and we found the funds for that, including 4.79 billion for human resources for health development for more than 20 billion. Increased allocation for medical assistance for indigents, 1 billion for the National Feeding Program, which was previously unfunded law. And we also have funding for the salary adjustment of teachers in SUCs provided under NBC 461. Additional budget for DOLE for emergency repatriation of OFWs and worker protection. We have additional funding again for DTI shared services facilities. We had Bureau of Corrections 1 billion for the construction of prison facilities to decongest the Bilibid prisons in Metro Manila. Again, we supported the DICT and the ICT industry in the not just in cities but also for countryside development. The PNP budget, as you know, we have the command center, and we increased the police per capita allowance nationwide. We also had funding for the increase in allowance and the hiring of additional troops of the CAF Goose. Under the unprogrammed fund, we have the 10 billion for Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund, 10 billion for the Coconut Farmers Industry Fund, 18 billion for the implementation of the universal health care, and 30 billion for the implementation of the Bangsamoro region of the organic law. These are just some of the budget allocations and the budgetary initiatives we took in our 4 years as chair of the Committee on Finance. May I ask my staff to give me the special provisions on climate and resilience? Just a hard copy, please. It's not here. We have 50 or more new, well, since 2016. Tala, can you pass it on? I'll read it now. You have it. Huh? Oh, from the soft copy. Yeah. Climate and resilience provisions, including, let's say, biodiversity database, etc. When my staff is ready to give it, I'll read it to you again. So, we also have, if I may list the, as chair of your Foreign Relations Committee, we actually sponsored the concurrence in the ratification of 32 treaties up to yesterday. RP Japan, Agreement on Technical Cooperation. That's so important, especially with the frequent trips and the bilateral agreements and the presidential state visits of the president to Japan. The optional protocol to the Convention Against Torture, the protocol additional to the Geneva Convention relating to protection of victims of international armed conflicts, mutual legal assistance treaty between the Philippines and United Kingdom, MLAT between the Philippines and the PROC. Perhaps one of the most important treaties that we sponsored in its ratification is the Paris Agreement, as you very well know. There are Maritime Labor Convention of 2006. There are even treaties which have been lying in the committee for 20 years, and including the EEZ treaty yesterday, which we ratified, which according to the DFA has been negotiated and not yet ratified for 20 years. And we actually voted on second reading yesterday on the concurrence to that treaty with Indonesia. So I can perhaps just read to you, or perhaps just give you a copy so that I don't read all these 32 treaties which we sponsored to concur in the ratification. It's going to be very difficult for me to put in a capsule in one meeting such as this all my 18 years in the Senate in my varied roles as Chairman of Foreign Relations, Chairman of the Committee on Finance, Chairman of the Environment Committee, of Economic Affairs for a while, even of Rural Development for a while. You may not remember that, even of the Committee on Cultural Communities, but it's Committee on Agriculture. So I've chaired various committees which all have been very productive and very interesting. So thank you, and I am ready to answer.
So, Ma'am, with the long list of your accomplishment, I'm sure you are completely satisfied sa iyong naging performance in 18 years. So, are you now excited naman to transfer in the House of Representatives?
It will actually be exciting because there's still much to learn from how the bigger house is actually run. We're 23 in the Senate, sometimes 22, but having 300 congressmen and women debating on various issues, we can also learn how local legislation or how national legislation would affect local legislation is done, and projects that can be done in the local level. So after having been working nationally, applying all these laws in one province, in one district, is actually both challenging and inspiring. So again, it's going to be a learning experience for me in a way, although many of them look forward to my sharing my knowledge with them. And I still have a long, long list of pending bills not yet enacted, because as you know, we file dozens upon dozens and hundreds of laws, of bills that are not yet enacted into laws, and so I will refile. Some of those I will refile will be the ban on single-use plastics, will be additional integrated protected areas, would be the oversight function of environmental laws we've done. I'd like to do something on providing local employment, because I was co-author with the former Senate President Ople in my first term on Public Employment Service Office. But perhaps if you could focus on the Barangay BESO, Barangay Employment Service Office, to provide rural employment up to the barangay level, because in Antique I see that that is the major problem, entrepreneurship and employment. Hindi sapat ang kinikita ng magsasaka at mangingisda. Kailangan ng trabaho, either hindi lang sa pag-empleyo, kundi rin self-employment. So there are many things. The Department of Culture is something I'd also like to file. We had a meeting last night of the NPC, and we talked about possible bills that we can refile in the next Congress.
Ma'am, you are being mentioned as one of the possible or potential House Speaker. Are you open for that position? Or are there congressmen encouraging you na mag-House Speaker ka po?
I mentioned it the other day, but I'll probably say it again. I was surprised to see my name. I was surprised. I have not made any effort to aspire for the speakership.
Pero may mga nagpo-push po ba sa inyo na mag-aspire na maging House Speaker?
I think there are many enough candidates. Is that the right English? Oo. Marami na nag-aspire. And I'll say it again. With regards to the job, I know I can do the job. But do I want the job? Not necessarily. So, I will enter the big house. I will help to the best of my ability and capacity. I want to help the province to which I was elected. I want to give it my best in the larger house, in the bigger house. But the speakership was never in my radar. I think I said this 2 days ago. I reiterate that.
Ma'am, there's allegation na may money involved dito sa House Speakership. May vote buying ranging from 500,000 to 1 million. Have you heard this? At may nag-offer na po ba sa inyo?
I've read about it in media. I hope that it is untrue, because positions in government, even in the legislature, should not be for sale. So I've read it, but there are denials, so we just give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
So ma'am, can you say na ang laki ng difference nung kalakaran sa pagpili ng leadership sa House at saka sa House of Representatives? Dito sa Senate at
I
sa House
don't know yet how the selection in the lower house would be, because I believe it will be by block, by political party. It's not, I'm not sure yet how it's going to be. Unlike here, we're only 23, 24.
Ma'am, if you are going to vote, who will you choose between Congressman Cayetano, Martin Romualdez, Velasco, and Pantaleon Alvarez?
It's difficult for me to say. I know all of them. They all have their particular competencies. I still have to confer with our party leaders. I will be new to the larger house, and there's still 60 days before the opening of Congress.
Joyce and then She. Who else? Okay, Joyce.
Kala ko climate change, papagbasahin nyo sa akin yung mga ano.
Ma'am, yung climate change.
Lahat ng aking summary of general and special provisions on climate and DRR, yung politika na naman. Ay, naku.
Ma'am, may tanong kami mamaya dyan. Kasi yung climate change, ina-offer nyo kay Senator Nancy Binay?
It's not for me to offer, but I was asking if she was interested, because she chaired the Cultural Communities Committee, which I chaired before, and she liked chairing it. Yes.
Interested po si Senator
I
Binay?
think so, because it's something new. Because she's also handling tourism, so it would be great to have a convergence of sustainable tourism and climate adaptation.
Okay, Joyce.
Hi ma'am, good morning. I'm
Hi,
Joyce
morning.
po from CNN Philippines. Ma'am, has anyone among the candidates for the speakership, has anyone tried to get in touch with you po or to get your support for their candidacy for the speakership?
Well, even during, before I was proclaimed as Congresswoman-elect, there have been some calls to congratulate even before I won, and to just, because they're my friends, yes, through emissaries or even personal calls.
But
And
has-
I thank them.
Has anyone tried to get in touch with you to solicit your support for their candidacy for the speakership?
Maybe not openly na, iboboto mo ba ako? Hindi ganon. But alam mo naman, pag tumawag, nagko-congratulate, hindi pa man tapos ang kampanya, papasalamat ako, ganon.
Okay, so yung mga tumawag ma'am, sila mismo yung mga kandidato na all three ma'am, tumawag na sa inyo.
Basta may mga tumawag na nangangamusta, nagko-congratulate.
Ma'am, you mentioned the NPC met last night.
Mm-mm.
Meron na po bang party
A
position?
series of meetings actually. It's first time that I went. Yung mga bagong halal. Kasi bago eh.
Ma'am, may party position na po ba on
Not
the
yet.
House
It was
speakership?
merely just socials, getting to know the new congressmen and women. The others are first time in Congress. The others, mga kapatid, asawa, tatay, anak, ganun. But ang pinag-usapan namin, which is good, yung mga batas na gusto nilang gawin. Everyone stood and talked about his or her bill na gustong i-file. So nice. It's a welcome change. Hindi puro politika ang pinag-usapan.
Ilang NPC congressmen po ba ang na-elect?
Alam mo, kala ko 36, pero sabi sa akin kagabi 42 eh. So I have to confirm. Ilan ba talaga? Can you ask Tala? Kala ko 36 eh, but 42 daw kagabi. And SP was there last night.
So,
I have to get the exact number.
ano yun, second sa biggest,
I have to check. I still have to check.
kasi PDP Laban is about 80 plus.
Oo. Tala, check mo naman.
Okay, thank you
Para
ma'am.
accurate, thanks.
Okay, She.
Hi ma'am, good morning. 18 years sa Senate. Kasi you're one of the most vocal senators here for the past 18 years and was also one of the parang so-called landmarks during the the era of impeachment trial, ma'am, di ba? When you're in the House na, in the lower house, what should the public expect to see? Are we going to see the old or the new Loren as far as your new role is concerned?
Subo mo na. What you see is what you get. Of course I changed. Of course I grew. Of course I evolved. But the hardworking, disciplined Loren with work ethic and with advocacies that are varied, I'll continue to do that and more. It's a new face. It's more local, perhaps more direct to the people, so it's more challenging, equally challenging. I will not forget my national and global advocacies, but I will also translate my national and global policies into local action.
Are you likely to join the supermajority coalition?
Again, it depends on the party, and I believe the NPC is almost always part of the majority coalition.
Pero ma'am, tama ba na hindi ka magiging part ng so-called silent majority na pagdating sa Congress, na parang biglang naging quiet or silent image na?
Actually, there's nothing wrong with silence. You can be working even when you're silent. There's so much political noise already. I want my work to speak for itself.
Last na lang.
Okay.
I mean, of course, you want me to deliver a privileged speech on day one, right? Right? If you, I can, but what I'm saying is that you can deliver speeches every week. But I'd like to see my laws being implemented, not just in my province, but nationwide. So, speeches can raise a level of awareness, can mold public opinion, but there's much work to do and then just be part of the chaotic political noise.
Ma'am, just one last. Can you cite kung Alin dito yung sa 18 years yung para sa inyo naging memorable as a senator,
That's so difficult
nagmark
to
sa
answer.
inyo
That's
as
so
a senator?
difficult. Alam mo, palagi when they ask me nga, ang hirap eh. Kasi every term is different. The first 6 years, you're learning. In fact, the first 3 years. Then I became majority leader in my first term, 201. Wala pa kayo nun, no? 2001, majority leader. So that was historic in a way, the only woman majority leader at 41, right? And then my second term, I was very active as well from 2007 to 2013. My third term, that's when I learned so much, when I became chairman of the Committee on Finance, and you've already enacted so many laws and see that some were not funded, and you're able to fund it, and you're able to see the implementation of laws. So perhaps the third term, you're wiser, you have more wisdom, you're more patient, I don't know. You collaborate better, kasi gamay mo na. But then the more you know, the more you realize you need to know more.
Ma'am, just one last definitely may mga bagong papasok na senators. Any piece of advice to them, kung paano maging effective legislator?
Sa mga neophyte senator.
Study, study, study. Learn, learn, learn. Work, work, work. That's my mantra. That's how it's been in school. That's how it's been in journalism, in broadcast, as producer and anchor. That's how it's been in my 18 years in the Senate. That's how it will be in Congress and beyond.
Okay, before Mayan, ma'am, dun sa mga House Speaker aspirants na tumatawag sa inyo, meron na ba nag-offer ng committee chairmanship?
We did not talk about speakership or about committees. It was kamustahan. But there have been talks among congressional candidates and winners about possible committee chairmanships even in the NPC and outside of NPC. But we're open to anything. We will just listen first and see.
Considering yung expertise niyo, ma'am, ano yung mga tinatarget niya na makuha ang committee chairmanship?
You know, I still have to learn how the designation of chairman of the committees are done. Because unlike here, we say, oh, ito, gusto ko, itong bagay sa akin, itong kaya ko, ganun. Eh yun, 300 eh, di ba? And there are how many committees? But I already said it, and I'll say it again. I've served 2 presidents as chairman of finance, the last year of the outgoing President Aquino, and the 3 years of the Duterte administration, and I believe that I've contributed much to the growth of our economy through the budgetary process. But it's really up to the leadership. I am not one to impose myself.
Okay, Mayan?
Ma'am, first agenda nyo lang for Antique and ma'am, first
I can hear you.
ma'am, first agenda nyo lang for Antique and do you expect na magiging mas madali yung trabaho nyo for the next 3 years kasi galing na ho kayo sa national position for 18 years?
Hindi necessarily mas madali ang lokal o ang nakatutok sa isang probinsya kasi diretso, the problem stares you in the face and they expect you while you are a lawmaker to also bring home projects to change their lives. While it is an executive function, lawmakers or congressmen are expected to enact national legislation and doing local action to change the lives of the people. So it's not necessarily easier. Now, what's on the table? So many. First, to provide jobs in each of the 590 barangays. The nice thing about it is, I've done it even before I sit as Congress person because I already helped, let's say, those who do muscovado sugar, those who do tablea chocolate, those who weave this t-shirt of patadjong. I revived the piña weaving industry. I support the atis who are weaving nito. I support a barangay where they gather weeds from the mountains and do barrio carpets which are being sold in an Ayala mall. So I've done it in the past 20 years under the radar of everybody because I don't put my name brand on it, but we provide itlugan in remote sitios which I visited during my campaign. So, and the fish catch has remarkably increased by tens and more metric tons due to the distribution of fishing boats from the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. So, my first in the agenda is livelihood creation because I'm the author of laws pertaining to livelihood, PESO, Public Employment Service Office, the amended MSME, Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises, the Barangay Kabuhayan Act. And so putting all that together can probably help our fisher folks and our farmers.
I'm sorry to ask you this early. Will we see you here in the Senate after 3 years? Do you have plans of doing
I did
Babalik.
not even plan to run for Congress in Antique. So, it's difficult to answer. Oh, we're 49 Kongs? Really? 49? Are you sure? I didn't know that. Okay. So, will you see me back here? I've not even left and you want me back already? I've not even gotten my feet wet in the bigger house and you're already asking whether I will leave that house, right? So, 3 terms is 3 terms. I think I will ask you if give me a scorecard 1 to 10 of my 3 terms in the Senate. Will I pass or will I fail? Diba? I'm sure you'll say a pass, okay? So I hope that you will say that I remarkably passed. I've done my share in national legislation. I'm really excited and surprisingly pleasant surprise my staff. Tala, right? Come here, Tala. Who's been here with me since, di ba super enjoy tayo sa Antique? Naiiyak pa yung mga yan pag nakikita yung problema ng mga tao. We're super excited. And I'm even bringing my global partners. Again, ayoko muna i-announce. Announce ko na ba? Possibly. The Global Commission on Adaptation, of which I'm a member of the board of Bill Gates and Ban Ki-moon, is considering, we're planning their trip to come to the Philippines, possibly in the Visayas, in Antique. Yeah. We had a board meeting in Berlin May 21 because there was and just today you saw in our Viber thread we're planning for their trip. Ayoko muna sabihin sana kasi they've actually set the date. They're coming already. Pero ayoko muna sabihin dahil hindi pa sigurado kung saan. I'm not certain if it's Antique, if Antique is ready to receive, but so what I'm saying is I'm going to merge my national legislation, my global work, and the local action needed. So it's exciting.
Ma'am, so you see yourself finishing 3 terms?
It's up to the people if they want to re-elect me, and I think they are so happy in Antique now. It's like a fiesta mode. So we see. Nothing is certain. There's the global stage. There's Senate. There's continuing congressional work.
Ma'am, mabilis lang yung 3 years, di ba?
Mabilis.
Kung marami ka pang hindi nagagawa sa Antique, pwede ka mag-seek ng re-election.
Of course, there's re-election for 3 terms.
Meron pa? May microphone.
Question number 1 is, in love ba kayo? May love life kayo?
Alam mo, pag sagutin ko yan, yun na naman ang headline nyo at lahat ng substantive na pinag-uusapan natin matatabunan. Galing ako sa newsroom, alam ko yan. Ganyan din ako, gaya ninyo magtanong. Yan ang iiral, yan ang Twitter, yan o bakit ka to sasagutin? Ang gusto ko pag-usapan, trabaho ko.
Ay kasi ma'am, iba daw yung aura mo ngayon.
Oo, iba
Parang
yung aura
aura ng
mo.
may love life.
Alam mo, i-refer lang kita sa aking hair salon na gumupit sa
Sige,
akin. Sa
ma'am.
paggupit lang yan.
Seryosong question, ma'am. One is, are you really eyeing, ma'am, yung Committee on Appropriations sa House?
Naku, yun ang headline nyo. Legarda, eyes. Alam ko naman ganyan. Hindi
Pero
ko
ma'am, di kasi to continue
kanina
yung
target,
protocol, ma'am.
ngayon ay. Iniiba lang nyo yung tanong nyo para sagutin ko na naman yon. Uulitin ko. It is not for me to designate myself as chair of any committee. I will respect the decisions and the leadership in the House. You asked me, where am I comfortable? What is my expertise? I said I've chaired so many committees in the Senate. I am ready to chair any committee. I would appreciate it if I can chair a committee which I've chaired for 4 years that has affected change. In fact, just quote Secretary Dominguez during our hearing, di ba? He said it was a joy working with you. We hope that he was the one who said that. So, am I ready for it? Yes. Will I get it? I'm not certain. It's up to the leadership. Yon.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Isa pa. Sabi nyo nga kanina, yung advice nyo sa mga neophyte is, di ba,
There's
work,
no substitute for hard work. Whether you are a journalist, you're a cameraman, you're a police, you're a teacher, you're a forester, a firefighter, nothing can substitute for hard work. Right? You don't come to an interview unprepared. As a journalist, you ask a question, you should know the answer. Otherwise, kung susundin mo lang yung script mo, baka sinasagot na ng inyong interviewing matalino yung 2, 3, 4, 5, tinatanong mo ang question number 2. Maraming ganyan. Kaya, di ba, alam yan, we should always research, and not just research online, you vet. Not just once, twice, thrice. I always tell my staff, don't just take anyone's word for that. So, no substitute for hard work, for research, for continuous learning, for going beyond your comfort zone and breaking boundaries and new learnings.
Pero, ma'am, syempre, i-claim nila na ganyan din yung thinking nila, na magtatrabaho sila and all. Pero first things
I'm
first.
sure maraming, lahat naman yan masisipag, lahat yan magagaling eh. Kaya nga, lahat yan may competence. Diba?
Pero una muna, ma'am, papayuhan niyo ba sila na irespeto yung equity of the incumbent na tradition dito, ma'am, pagdating sa committee chairmanship?
That's a tradition, but I leave it again to the Senate leadership since I will not be a member of the next Congress. So I don't want to impose any rules. But in 1998, when I was a new senator, let me see. We were in the minority then. So I'm not sure if I had the chairmanship. Nung panahon yun, stricto. Para kami nila, Ginggona was minority leader. 5 lang kami. Wala yata kaming chairmanship. Ang majority nun, di kami binigyan. Oo, iba nun. Ba't sila ganun?
Kasi ma'am, ngayon parang may friction kaagad, di ba? Para makapagtrabaho ka, mas maganda may harmony. Pero ngayon
May
parang...
friction ba?
Well, it seems.
Wala. Kayo lang
Nag-aagaw.
kayo lang gumagawa nun. Kasi trabaho natin yan, ba, di ba? Pag sa media, gumagawa tayong friction
Sabi
para
ni
may
SP
storya.
Soto, di
Ganun.
ba,
Kayo
pag
lang
mga-
yun. Walang friction. Nanguhuli ka lang sa tanong mo, di ba?
Hindi, sabi ni SP, may problematic actually yung distribution ng political costs.
Hindi friction yon. Talagang bawat pagpasok, pasensya na, in fact, nang aasal lang ako, nagpapatawa ha. Ganun. Hindi, bawat pagpasok ng bawat kongreso, palaging may overlapping chairmanship interest. Hindi, conflict. It's a happy problem. That means, marami nag-interest sa chairmanship. That means, maraming rin expertise. Pero nasosolve palagi yon. Even in 2016, ganun din. 2013, palaging ganun. May mga, kakatawa nga kami, pag nag-uusap, nagko-caucus, kung sino may gusto. May mga committees talaga na palaging maraming may gusto. Meron mga committees na talagang walang kumukuha. Nasa gitna ng table, figuratively. Alala ko si Senator Enrile noon. Walang may gusto sa cultural communities. Walang may gusto sa climate change. Loren, sa'yo na lang. Yung mga ayaw, Loren, sa'yo na lang. Tapos, napapaganda yung committee. I mean, lahat naman may saysay eh. Ba't man ka-create na committee yan kung wala naman kasaysayan yan?
Pero paano nire-resolve yun, ma'am? Through
Usapan.
consensus?
Tama siya.
Mga horse
Consensus.
trading?
Hindi naman horse trading. Huwag naman. Oo, hindi.
di ba ma'am, mas aggressive ngayon compared nung kayo yung bago, yung ibang senators nung bago. Ngayon mas aggressive.
Baka hindi lang nyo nakikita yung aming aggression behind closed doors.
Okay, so other issue na tayo, ma'am. Ma'am, Justice Secretary Guevara said that today the garbage from Canada will be finally shipped back to Vancouver, Canada.
Very
And
good.
Canadian government will shoulder the 10 million
10 million
estimated
pesos.
cost.
Yun lang pala ang pinagawa yun.
Mhm.
10 million pesos. Okay. Saan ba yung aking brief dito?
So your comment on that, ma'am?
Yes.
So ito, resulta ba yan ng strong
That's good.
stand ni Presidente pagdating dun sa...
Okay. Yeah. May 30, right?
Mhm.
According to Secretary Locsin, they're waiting for a couple of documents, routine permission. No, May 30 was already today.
Today,
Diba, May 30?
mhm.
Okay. Okay. And Secretary
Guevara.
Guevara said, yeah, it's 10 million. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. May I reiterate
Mm.
previous statements so that I am consistent? I will read my previous statements. It is unacceptable that 6 years since these containers were shipped to our shores, and that despite assurances from the Canadian government to help remove them, their waste is still here, posing significant health and environment risks in our country. These are, not today, my previous statements, para lang ma-review ninyo. I also said, both Canada and the Philippines have ratified the Basel Convention on the control of transboundary movements of hazardous waste and their disposal, which promotes environmentally sound management of exported and imported waste, especially in developing countries, unquote. I said that years ago. I also said, this is a reminder to other countries that the Philippines is not their dumping site. Solid waste management should be enforced within each country and within their communities. With our strong political will and even stronger cooperation among groups and advocates, we will remain vigilant in safeguarding any threats against our environment and our health. I would just like to remind you, way back in 2015, when I chaired the Environment Committee, if I'm not mistaken, we held a Senate hearing on this issue. And I stated, taking back their waste is the only option. I said this in 2015. Canada is a signatory to the Basel Convention. As part of their commitment to the convention, they should take back their waste. So I'm glad that 4 years later, this is happening now.
Mhm. So, ma'am,
It's a strong political will of the president.
mhm.
Just like Boracay is an example of strong political will.
Mhm. So, ma'am, with this development, mag-improve na kaya ulit yung diplomatic relation natin with Canada at dapat na bang ibalik yung mga pinarecall na ambassador at consul natin sa
I
Canada?
hope so, because Canada is home to many Filipino migrants. We also have a robust trade and economic diplomacy with Canada, and I hope that ties and relations will normalize.
So, no need to prevent yung mga public official to travel in Canada kasi recently parang may ganung statement
Yes.
yung palace.
Yes. Well, after the trash issue is settled, I'm sure there will be talks, and I leave it to SFA Locsin to do that.
Kaya ma'am, it seems we are becoming dumping ground of yung mga imported garbage kasi di ba meron ding na-ship na garbage from South Korea, Hong Kong, and then yung latest from Australia. So, bakit ho kaya nakakalusot yun at favorite time pagdalhan ng mga imported
As I said,
trash?
we're all signatories to the Basel Convention. And so, the implementing agencies should make sure that we are not violating it by receiving. Just like the countries that are sending those trash to us, kasi merong mga private sector na nagne-negotiate o bumibili ng mga waste na ito. So, dapat maliwanagan sila sa mga treaties at konbensyon na ating na-ratify na hindi dapat ito gawin parte ng kanilang negosyo.
So, may violation yun dun sa mga existing treaties.
Yes. And this move to ship back the trash of Canada is a good move to prove to the world that we are not a dumping ground of the world's trash.
Okay. Kung si Senator Sani Angara ang inaay na maging bagong Finance Committee Chairman, good choice po ba, Senator
Very
Angara?
good choice.
Mhm.
And I think because Senator Sani is still the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, so he knows revenue generation. It would be interesting to see how the money is spent as well now to chair the Finance Committee, where he will allocate the resources that were generated.
Magbibigay ka ba ng tip o unsolicited advice to Senator
Yes,
Angara?
he has asked for my advice, and I will willingly give it and help out.
Mhm.
Maybe do a memo on now. But you know, the LBRMO are the most brilliant, efficient, competent people. He has the whole LBRMO backing him up.
Pero magre-return rin si LBRMO Director, ma'am,
I
no?
think she's been asked to stay for 1 year.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Mhm. How about the Foreign Relations Committee, ma'am? Kanino ito ino-offer? Sino sa tingin niyo yung...
Hindi ko pa alam.
Mhm.
I don't know yet. Who's interested? Hindi pa nga napag-usapan yun, no?
Ma'am, okay, yeah, follow up.
Ma'am, ano yung dapat na na qualities ng isang foreign relations chairperson?
Oh. Dapat interesado. Interesado sa hindi lang kaganapan ng Pilipinas, kundi kaganapan sa mundo at yung kahalagahan ng ating mga kasunduan, treaties and conventions sa ibang bansa. Sa political man, sa krimen man, sa kalikasan, at sa iba't ibang bagay. At yung kakayanan na suriin ang mga konbensyon na ito na hindi naman dapat ina-amend dahil ang Senado ay concurrence lamang. It's either we reject or we ratify a treaty. And so, you have the agencies to backstaff you, especially the Department of Foreign Affairs. So it should not be very difficult. But it's also a challenge, and I find the Foreign Relations Committee very interesting because we are the ratifying body. The Senate is, not the lower house.
Mhm.
Plus factor na lang kung lawyer yung halimbawa may prospect. Kailangan ba meron kang expertise
I've
on
chaired it for many,
international law?
many years, and I'm not a lawyer.
Mhm.
Yes. It's important to research, to read a lot, to listen, to know how to write and to communicate it, and to understand the importance of all the treaties and conventions.
Okay, before ngayon pa.
If you in finance, you have the brilliant and competent LBRMO. Foreign relations, you have the whole DFA to help you, even the DOJ.
Mhm. Before ngayon pa, ma'am, we're just wondering why Foreign Relations Committee did not conduct any public hearing dun sa resolution about yung sa South China, sa yung ating foreign relation with China, yung mga issue about China.
Yes. Well, perhaps it was a sensitive issue. What is better left to the DFA to handle? As chair, I had to balance security concerns and discussions that can be discussed on Facebook Live, such as this, and those that can be left to the DFA and in boardrooms and in negotiations. Because again, there was just too many opinions already
Mhm.
and sensitivities relating to conflicting claims in the West Philippine Sea. And if I add my voice in a Senate committee hearing of things that should be better left unsaid publicly but worked on privately in negotiations, then I think I could have contributed better. So, what I'm saying is that may mga bagay na hindi dapat pinapag-usapan sa publiko. Like, kung magtatayo tayo ng mga fortifications o tayo ay magpapadala ng karagdagang mga armadong bantay, o kailangan ba natin sabihin yun? Pag sa hearing, tatanong natin sa militar, sabihin nila dapat ang totoo. Do we have to transmit that? Do we have to convey and transmit information on our strategies against the other claimants, including China? I don't think that should be said in public.
So, na-inform yung author ng resolution kasi parang they are complaining but wala nang hearing nga na nangyari.
I'm not sure. Did they even follow it up with me?
So, decision nyo ng committee, ma'am, o na-consult nyo din sina Senate President Soto on that?
You know, it was never even discussed in the caucus. No.
Niva, may follow-up ka on that issue?
Actually nga ma'am, same question, walang hearing about the South China Sea issue. Pero di ba, bilang ang Senado nagka-concur sa treaties or treaty ratifying body, bakit ma'am walang naging stand? Walang naging solid stand ang committee or ang Senate pagdating dun sa West Philippine Sea issue?
Oh, because the Senate is the treaty ratifying body. There's no pending treaty relating to the West Philippine Sea or any treaty with China that we were supposed to concur in. There was a resolution on the conflicting claims and the issues pertaining to China.
Yes ma'am, I mean, as an institution ma'am, di ba, hindi ba kailangan meron tong stand sa issue?
Oh, I think it goes without saying that of course we assert our sovereignty. That goes without saying, with or without a hearing. We assert our sovereignty. There should be respect for Philippine sovereignty on the West Philippine Sea. Amid territorial claims.
Ma'am, other issue, after some arguments and debates, finally yung franchise ng solar para sa bayan na-approve na rin po. So, did you convince your colleagues to vote for the approval ng franchise, ma'am, o hindi mo kayo nakialam pagdating doon?
As you know, I abstained. That is my son's company, of which I'm not an owner. And in the words of the sponsor, it is a social justice legislation. I think it's, but I abstained out of delicadeza because it's owned by my son, a 25-year-old entrepreneur.
So, solar para sa bayan. Di ba naging issue, ma'am, na kailangan pa ba talaga ng franchise ng solar para sa
I am not an expert in that. I did not defend it on the floor. In fact, I would always be out to make sure that there is no conflict. It would be interesting if you invite him here so he can talk more about it. He's very competent.
Any other question? No more? So, ma'am, before we end, baka gusto mo munang gumawa ng valedictory message.
Hindi, marami pa akong babasahin. Hindi, kasi, ngayon, pagtsagaan nyo naman ito,
Sige, ma'am.
5 pahina eh. Hindi. Kasi, ngayon lang nangyari, na ito importante, ngayon lang nangyari, noong 2016 sa GAA, na merong climate change and disaster risk reduction special provisions. Let's say, the resilience of agricultural communities, where the DA will implement disaster-resilient agricultural infrastructure projects and the distribution of seeds. Let's say, the repair and retrofitting of government structures. In retrofitting bridges, the government will give priority to areas considered to be highly vulnerable to seismic activity in the wake of recent earthquakes, etc. And then the installation of rainwater collection systems. Rainwater collectors are adaptation measures to combat climate change and to ensure sufficient water supply. Science-based research on adaptation and mitigation. The DOST shall give priority to research on DRR and climate adaptation to ensure that policy development is based on science and contributing to resilience. Even earmarking funds for coconut palms as natural windbreakers The PCA shall encourage farmers to adopt the method of planting coconut palms to act as natural windbreakers along coastal areas. The design and construction of evacuation centers, the protection of biodiversity, well, all government agencies should ensure the protection of biological diversity to be integrated in their development programs. Energy efficiency, which is already a law sponsored by Senator Sherwin, which I principally authored for energy efficient lighting, etc. Gulayan sa Paaralan, which a DepEd has already mainstreamed, vegetable gardens. MRF, which is part of RA 9003 for material recovery facility. Mapping and inventory of biodiversity in all state universities and colleges. Ang dami. So, these are just some. Cultural mapping, the provision of assistance to LGUs and to SUCs for cultural mapping for their tangible and intangible heritage. Again, I hope I'm not speaking Greek to you, but these are very important, very salient provisions on resilience, adaptation, on climate and culture, which were never found in any national budget and which have been recognized by the global institutions, including the GCA of Bill Gates and Ban Ki-moon, including the UNISDR in Geneva, that we have made innovations in the budget so that it's not just pesos and cents, it's not just the usual infrastructure, but actually mandated compliance with disaster risk reduction and climate change mitigation and adaptation programs. So this is a legacy I leave, and I hope that this will continue in the years to come. In short, I've tried to mainstream disaster risk reduction and resilience in our national budgetary process. We've also geotagged the budget to include climate tagging.
So, ma'am, if Senator Nancy Binay will be the next Committee on Climate
I'm
Change
not sure. It's really
chairman.
up to them who's interested and who can do it. I will help. Yeah, I will help.
So, are you expecting na maging ganyan din siya ka-aggressive, ka-active pagdating sa mga climate change adaptation program, etc.?
Of course, they will be hesitant because it's a field where you need scientific expertise and passion. It's not easy. I had to learn it 20 years. Kung gusto nyo, tuturuan ko kayo. Talaga, mag-seminar, mag-workshop. It's the here and now. That is the issue of today in the world. You go to Bonn, you go to Brussels, you go to wherever, even New York, even in the spring meeting of the World Bank, right, which I attended last year with Secretary Jokno, the president of the World Bank, and Christian Lagarde talked about climate change in the World Bank meeting, right? So it's so important, especially coming from a vulnerable nation like the Philippines with more than 20 severe typhoons a year, where it will become more frequent and more intense. For every peso, every dollar invested in reducing disaster risk, we actually avert losses of how much do we avert? $7 to $10 for every dollar invested in DRR. You avert losses of up to $10. So it is worth it to invest in preventing disasters rather than continuously just rebuilding, reconstructing, and have the dole-out mentality, which is needed. But as you see, when you reduce the risk and build good and better from the start, the rehabilitation is much less. And so the resources needed for reconstruction and rehabilitation instead will go to job generation, will go to agriculture, will go to healthcare, will go to teachers, to security issues. So I'm very passionate about that, because we are a developing nation. If we do not realize that reducing disaster risk, of implementing climate adaptation measures, budgeting for this is essential, then we will forever be vulnerable to all these hazards, natural hazards. So, in the next 3 years and beyond, I will perhaps be more active in the climate arena, because my home province of Antique is a very vulnerable province. It was victimized by Typhoon Frank, Typhoon Yolanda, and most of our people are fisher folks in the 15 coastal municipalities and farmers in the 3 upland municipalities. It is a province where the mountains meet the sea and the mountains kiss the sky. It's a beautiful, resource-rich province with poor people, including indigenous people. It has Atis, Iraynon, Bukidnon. We have our own rice terraces, which has 3 harvests of rice a year. But the people are poor. So there are challenges. There are challenges in health and sanitation, challenges in educational facilities, challenges in job generation. So it will be my laboratory for inclusive, sustainable development, where I can apply my expertise in finance, in climate, in education, and all my laws can actually be applied there. But I will continue to help other provinces in the whole country as a national lawmaker in the lower house of Congress.
So, ma'am,
I will even be more active in the global arena in my job with the GCA, Global Commission Adaptation, and in my pro bono job as the Global Champion on Resilience and the UNISDR Champion on Disaster Risk Reduction. So tatlo yan na aking trabaho internationally. I will continue with that so that I don't lose touch with what's happening in the world, and I can bring it not just to Antique, but to the Senate as well through my colleagues. I will share with them.
so when are you going to invite us in Antique, ma'am?
Can we, may I invite all of you on June 30 for my inauguration? I hope that your networks will allow you to travel. June 30 is my inauguration in Antique. I hope that you can find the time to come. Palista kayo kay Tere, those who are willing to come. I think the LBRMO are coming. I'm inviting all my colleagues in the Senate, those who want to come. Some senators came during the campaign and I was very happy.
Ma'am, last na lang, you've been in the Senate for 18 years. Ano yung pinakamamimiss mo? Sino yung mamimiss mo dito, ma'am?
Yung trabaho at mga tao, yan ang mamimiss ko eh. Yung, lahat kayo. Yung mga kasamahan ko na, I took it for granted, araw-araw nandyan, tapos bigla nang makapagising ko sa July 1, ay, hindi na ako puntang Senado. So, what will I miss most? The people. It has been my family. The Senate has been my family. I was the youngest senator in 1998. Oh. So it's been my playground for 20 years. I grew up here. I grew up, I learned, I stumbled, I failed, I rose again, I shared, I helped. I hope I've made a difference. So I'll miss you much, but maybe not, because what's stopping me from coming to drop by every month, right? Congressmen come here and visit.
Oh, tsaka pag naging Committee on Appropriations Chairman ka, may di... Ay, hindi. Bike ba dito?
Any committee, actually. Yeah. So first, please, this is an open invitation for each and every member of the Senate media to join us on June 30 for our inauguration. Please come. Tere, can you find out too? The Senate LBRMO have also been invited. I'm also inviting my colleagues, Tala and Tere. Okay. Second, I will not be lost. I'll be around. Very visible. Perhaps you're correct. You told me first privilege speech, paghandaan ko na. Maghanda na sila. Anong topic? Resilience siguro, no? Tatawa na naman kayo. Naboboring kayo doon, no? Sige, anong gusto mong topic? Discipline. Ha? Discipline. Disiplina. Totoo yan. Bakit mo nasabi yun? Parang, given na yun eh. Yeah.
Ikaw ang una mag-privilege speech, ma'am, doon.
Kasi tayo, hindi makapahinga. Maganda yan. Sa unang araw, ako mag-privilege speech na maganda to mainstream DRRCCAM, resilience, in each of their districts. Ang ganda niyan. Pagawa mo na ang Climate Change Commission, sige na. Tapos lahat ng aking batas at lahat ng special provisions sa GAA, isuma natin. Para ako nag-workshop doon sa unang privilege speech. Maganda yon. Then I can cite climate adaptation best practices in certain districts. Diba? Ito, ginawa na nito. Ito, ginagawa ito. Ito na napansin ito. Diba ganon? Yun, ang ganda nun. Hindi lang policy, pero exemplary projects, no matter how small, sa mga districts nila. Ang ganda nun, trabaho na naman. Wala nang pahinga si Tare at si Tala.
Sasama ba sila sa inyo, ma'am, sa house?
Oo. Dapat.
Ma'am, di ba nag-majority leader ka dito nun?
201.
So, pwede ka rin mag-majority leader sa house?
Ayoko naman yun.
Ayaw niyo nun?
Kasi gusto ko talaga nakatutok sa committee. Sana, pero not majority. Tama na siguro.
Okay.
Kain na.
Senator Loren
What
is
time is it?
inviting us for lunch. May lunch tayo doon sa press office.
Hindi rito. Okay,
Hindi
I'll
dito,
join
ma'am.
you. Yeah.
With that, thank you very much, Senator Sun. Ano na ba? Congresswoman Loren Legarda.
So I'd like to thank each and every one of you. Ang habilin ko lang sa inyo, and you're doing a good job, just continue researching, vetting. Let's not fall prey to fake news. Let's always vet, and always confirm, diba? Research. Panahon kasi namin, walang online eh. Tatawagan pa namin, ite-tape namin kung sinabi niya yun, kung tatawagan sa landline, kung talagang ganun. Panahon namin ganun, kulit. But thank you to the media because you have been instrumental in generating more awareness on issues which do not usually interest our public. So thank you to all of you for your efforts to help me, for your patience with me. I know I've not been accessible all of the time because sometimes I have sore throat, sometimes I'm just too busy. In the past 4 years that I've chaired the Finance Committee, sometimes we need to be alone to just read, to study. But I thank you for your patience, for your understanding, for your cooperation, for your support. The work we do without you will be largely meaningless if it is not transmitted to our public.
Well, thank you for the acknowledgement.
Thank you. Duro gid nga salamat, palangga ko kamo.
Wow. Legit na taga-antike na si ma'am. Sino ng news ng Macho Black ngayon, ma'am?
Senator Poe is an honorary or adopted, not a member of the Macho Bloc. I think Senator Binay as well.
Macho
At saka may
Black.
LL na sila. Hindi
Anong
nawawala.
LL?
Si Lito Lapid. May LL, si Lito Lapid.
Hindi na.
Bunutan yata sa room. Kasi may mga nag-signify dati na gusto na yung room ko. Tatanggalin ko naman lahat ng aking kapis cabinet eh. Kala nila kasama yun. Tatanggalin ko yung mga antik ko. Yeah. Dati, Senator Lacson said he wanted my room, but I asked him hindi na raw. And then, Senator Aimee wanted my room. And then Senator Joel also asked, but SP said, bunutan.
So, pinag-aagawan yung kwarto mo, ma'am.
But then, I think it has to be the chairman of the Finance Committee para katabi ng LBRMO.
Senator Sani.
Oo. Pero I'm not sure if he wants to transfer. Maliit yung kwarto ko eh. Pero maganda paglilingon ko dyan, greens, di ba? Garden. At kita mo yung sunset. Diyan ako nagmuni-muni. Okay, guys.
Thank you,
Have you
ma'am.
been live on Facebook the whole time? Okay?
So, hindi na naka-Facebook Live. Oh. So, ma'am, hindi. May showbiz, tayo question. Huwag na lang. Oh, let's have lunch dun sa press office. Ay, may daw, do picture. Ha? Dito muna, isa dito
Dito, para may
maganda.
background niya, no?
Oh, everybody, reporters muna.
Kathleen, all the girls, can you give your sizes for t-shirts for the Patadyong heart? Ha? Na kay ano? Yung...
size mo? Anong size mo?
Excuse me?
Magka-size na.
Hindi itong design, Maria. Yung my heart. Okay? All the women, yung kung anong size nila, ha? Okay. Tayo nang mamili ng iba-ibang kulay.
So,
ganun.
ma'am, bigger ako sa'yo. Yun ang...
Diba? Ambisyon kaya ito. Hindi, joke lang. Okay. Sorry na yung mga lalaki. Mga lalaki, scarf na lang. Mula sa bagtasan. Diba? Ang lalaki pwedeng scarf.
Ma'am, patad yung lalaki ka rin.
Susuot ba nyo? Hindi. Yung mga susuot ng antike, reregaluhan ko ng malong patadyong.
O, ma'am, suot ko nga to,
Ang malong patadyong, pati mga bariw na bag, ang gaganda. Ay, nako, mag-shopping kayo doon sa mga produkto ko, ang ganda. So, yung mga lalaki, bigyan mo ng bagtason na scarf. Yung mga babae, yung patadyong ni May. Oo. Halika, picture tayo.
O, dali,
Pwedeng girls muna, tapos kasama ng mga boys.
O, girls muna. Women empowerment. O, dali, si ma'am, may gutom na, Ma'am, yung saging mo, hindi pa yata ubos.
Sa gitna ni ma'am.
Uy, ako din.
Ate Celine,
Rex,
dito ba
Rex.
yung chan ko?
Uy, dito sa kabila, pa.
Kaya din.